Okay, we're now going to look at a similar problem, converting the same types of problem, but now we're going to be given our angle in radians, and we're going to be asked to convert it to degrees, something that you need to know how to do. Let's do an example of pi over 5 radians, and let's see if we can convert that. So we have pi over 5, excuse me, ooh, that went in. Pi over 5 radians. And we want to convert that to some number of degrees. Good? All right. So, again, step 1 is the same. We start out with the key, the equivalency that 180 degrees halfway around the unit circle is equivalent to pi radians. Okay? That's what we're going to start with. So that's step 1. Pi radians is equivalent to 180 degrees. Step 2 is the same. Make 2 fractions out of step 1. This is the way the big boys do their conversions. The physics guys do a 3-step process, so that's what we're going to use. All right. Are your arms broken? They look bad. All right. Sorry. So the step 2 is make 2 fractions out of step 1. It's going to be this over this. So that's going to be pi radians per or over 180 degrees. And our other fraction is going to be this over that. So this step 1 and step 2 are easy. Don't get lost there. 180 degrees per pi radians. So step 3 is where we do the actual converting. We take what they're asking us to convert, which in this problem is pi over 5 radians. So we start with that, pi over 5 radians, and we're going to convert that to some number of degrees. So we need to multiply what we're converting, pi over 5 radians, times one of the 2 fractions from step 2, and that's going to convert it to some number of degrees for us. So what we need to do is decide which of the 2 fractions we want to use as our multiplier. How do we do that? Well, we look at the units that we're converting out of. Anything that has pi in it, you leave it as pi, you don't convert that to a number. And we look at the units, and anything that has pi is in radians, so we're converting out of radians. So we want to pick the fraction that has the same units, but in the where? The denominator. Okay? So which fraction should I use, left or right? Which fraction has radians in its denominator?
Right.
The right one, correct. Good job, Mark. So we're going to take the 180 degrees per pi radians, and that's going to be our multiplier. Now the reason we're using that as our multiplier is so that we can cancel our units. Because remember, units cancel between the numerator and denominator the same way numbers cancel. So what can I cancel here?
The pi radians.
Very good. Not just the radians, but we can also cancel the pi radians. Good job, Marco. Yes. Now, that leaves us with this multiplication here, and since we canceled these, there ends up being a 1 up here. Okay? Anything over itself is 1. So 1 times 180 just leaves us what in the numerator? 180 degrees
Yes.
in the numerator. And over, now we just have 5 because we canceled these, so we have a 1 down there. 5 times 1 is 5. So we end up with 180 degrees over 5. And now we just need to reduce that to our final answer of some number of degrees. Marco, what's 180 over 5? Any ideas?
35.
Little bigger.
45.
All right. Calculator. 180 divided by 5. Not the end of the world. That's what calculators are for.
36.
36 what?
36 degrees.
Good job. Very good. So there's our answer. 36 degrees. We converted pi over 5 radians to its equivalent 36 degrees. So approximately it'd be about right here. Yeah, between pi over 6 and pi over 4. Be pi over 5, about right there, 36 degrees. Good job, Marco. All right. Now we're going to do one last problem. The next problem on our handout, we're going to do this one. We're going to convert negative 4 pi radians to degrees. This one's a little trickier. Okay, negative 4 pi radians to degrees. Let me erase what we have here. Get it ready. I'm going to leave the first two steps up since they're always the same. It doesn't matter which way we're going. If we're going from degrees to radians or radians to degrees, the first two steps are always going to be the same. Okay. So we have negative 4 pi radians, and we're going to convert that to some number of degrees. That's our problem right here. We don't know what that is. So we start out the same way with the same first two steps. The third step, we take what we're converting. In this case, it's negative 4 pi radians, and we want to convert that to degrees. So we're going to multiply it times one of the two fractions from step 2. Marco, which fraction should we use as our multiplier? The left one or the right one?
The right one.
Why?
Because it has radians on the denominator.
Very good. We're converting out of radians, so we need to pick the fraction that has the same units that we're converting out of in its denominator. Good job. So that would be this fraction right here, 180 degrees per pi radians. Now, what can I have a fraction times something that's not a fraction. Take a second and turn the thing that's not a fraction into a fraction by putting it over 1. Now, what can I cancel between the numerator and denominator when I do my multiplication?
The pi radians.
Good job. So we're going to cancel the pi radians, and that leaves me a 1 down here because anything over itself is 1. Now, when we multiply straight across, when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. Numerator times numerator. So I now have negative 4 times 180 degrees. Calculator.
Negative 720 degrees.
Very good. So negative 4 times 180 degrees gives us our answer, which was what?
Negative 720.
Negative 720 degrees. Now, is that one of the 4 answers?
Yes.
Good job. Now, as an aside, I'm going to show you real quick on this one problem. We may have been able to do this problem without doing this. You might have been able to do this using just the unit circle, because we know that 360 degrees is once around the unit circle, right? So 360 degrees would take us to right here. Now, since this is negative 4 pi, right? Once around the unit circle is 2 pi. So if we go, and I'm not taking the negative into account yet. So if we go 2 pi radians, that's once around. But negative 2 pi radians would also be once around, but in the negative direction. So negative 2 pi is negative 360 degrees. And if we go negative 2 pi once more, that'll take us to negative 360 plus another negative 360, which gives us our answer of
720.
negative 720 degrees. All right? So we might have been able to do this with the unit circle. Negative 360 degrees plus negative 360 degrees takes us to negative 720 degrees, and that's cut. I got it.